Imagine standing before a cross, watching a man die. To you, it's just another day at work, but as the hours pass, the unexpected happens. The sky darkens at noon, the ground shakes beneath your feet, and the man on the cross, instead of screaming in anger or fear, speaks of forgiveness. At that moment, you would begin to question, was there more to him than meets the eye? This is the story of that soldier. This soldier, caught in the most significant moment in history, didn't realize its weight until the final breath was drawn. The morning began as any other day. Perhaps a seasoned centurion, the Roman soldier, took on the task of overseeing executions, ensuring the condemned met their end without disturbance or delay. Jesus of Nazareth was just another criminal, or so he thought. Whispers among the crowd spoke of him as a prophet, even a king, but the soldier likely paid little attention. Rome had no patience for insurrection or religious fervor. The crucifixion site at Golgotha was familiar ground. The crowd jeered and mocked, as they always did. Some cursed Jesus, others wept for him, but the soldier remained detached. His focus was on order, not sentiment. He had long since numbed himself to the cries of the dying. Yet, as the hours passed, something about this execution felt different. At noon, something impossible happened. The bright midday sun vanished, plunging the land into an unnatural darkness. The soldier glanced at the sky, his disciplined demeanor cracking as unease settled in. This was not an eclipse. Such events were predictable, and the timing was not aligned. The man on the cross didn't react like others condemned to die. He didn't curse his fate or plead for his life. Instead, he prayed for the forgiveness of those who had nailed him there. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. As the afternoon wore on, the soldier grew increasingly unsettled. Then, at 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?" The words carried a weight that seemed to ripple through the air. Moments later, Jesus took his final breath, and the world seemed to break. The earth quaked violently, splitting rocks and sending people stumbling. Reports began to circulate from a distance, revealing the torn veil of the Jewish temple, an enormous curtain that separated the holiest place from the rest of the world from top to bottom. To the Jews, this was a terrifying sign of divine intervention. To the soldier, it was undeniable proof that this was no ordinary man. In that moment, the soldier felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. He felt fear not from rebellion or death, but from the truth itself. He looked up at the lifeless body of Jesus, and the words escaped his lips before he could stop them. Truly, this man was the Son of God. It was a confession born of awe and regret, uttered in the shadow of the cross. He had carried out his orders, but now he realized the gravity of what he had done. He hadn't just executed a man. He had played a role in the death of someone divine. The crucifixion of Jesus Christ is one of the most documented and significant events in the Bible, recorded in all 4 Gospels. One of the most intriguing moments within this account is the Roman centurion's declaration at the foot of the cross, acknowledging Jesus as the Son of God. This event, described in Mark 15:33-39, provides a striking perspective on faith, recognition, and the supernatural events surrounding the death of Christ. This was no ordinary occurrence. A solar eclipse was impossible at this time, as Passover occurred during a full moon. Scholars such as Phlegon of Tralles, a historian during Emperor Hadrian's reign, mentioned an extraordinary darkness during this period, tying it to natural yet inexplicable phenomena. The Bible portrays this darkness as an act of divine intervention, symbolizing judgment and mourning for the death of God's Son. For the Roman soldier, this supernatural event must have been unsettling. As a man accustomed to enforcing order and authority, witnessing the disruption of the natural world during an execution would have been terrifying and thought-provoking. At around 3 p.m., Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani." This translates to, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Mark 15:34. This haunting statement, quoting Psalm 22:1, reflected the weight of sin and separation Jesus bore in that moment. It was not a cry of despair, but a fulfillment of prophecy, underscoring the depth of suffering he endured on behalf of humanity. Some bystanders misunderstood his words, thinking he was calling for Elijah, the prophet associated with divine rescue. When some of those standing nearby heard this, they said, "Listen, he's calling Elijah." Mark 15:35. The centurion, standing nearby, would have heard this cry, adding to the growing sense of awe and confusion. This man, enduring such agony, still demonstrated a profound connection to the divine. As Jesus took his final breath, he let out a loud cry and died. The Gospel of Matthew provides additional details about what followed. At that moment, the temple curtain tore in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, Matthew 27:51. The veil of the temple, separating the Holy of Holies from the rest of the sanctuary, represented the barrier between God and humanity. The tearing of the veil symbolized the opening of access to God through Jesus' death. The earthquake further emphasized the cosmic significance of this event. The Roman soldier, tasked with overseeing the crucifixion, was now a witness to phenomena that defied his understanding. The combination of darkness, the loud cry, and the earthquake shattered his sense of control, leaving him face to face with a truth he couldn't deny. Mark 15:39 records the centurion's response, and when the centurion, who stood there in front of Jesus, saw how he died, he said, "Surely this man was the Son of God." The centurion would have received training as a Roman Empire soldier to obey orders and disregard local religious disputes. Yet his confession reveals that the events surrounding Jesus' death transcended political or cultural boundaries. The phrase "Son of God" was not just a casual statement. For a Roman, acknowledging someone as divine carried profound implications. The centurion likely risked ridicule or suspicion for expressing such a belief. The centurion's confession was not based on theological study or prior knowledge of Jesus' teachings. Instead, it arose from witnessing Jesus' composure, his words of forgiveness, and the supernatural signs accompanying his death. His faith was born in the face of undeniable evidence. The centurion's recognition of Jesus as the Son of God carries deep theological meaning. It serves as a fulfillment of the prophecy that even Gentiles would come to acknowledge the Messiah. In Isaiah 42:6, God declares that the Messiah will be a light for the Gentiles. The centurion's confession is one of the first recorded acknowledgments of Jesus' divinity by a non-Jew, symbolizing the universal reach of the gospel. Traditional accounts attribute the name Longinus to the Roman soldier who pierced Jesus' side with a spear during the crucifixion, as described in John 19:34. But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and immediately there came out blood and water. While the canonical Gospels do not name this soldier, apocryphal texts and early Christian tradition identify him as Longinus, often portraying him as a figure who underwent a profound transformation at the cross. According to legend, Longinus was blind or partially blind at the time of the crucifixion. The splashing of blood and water from Jesus' side miraculously restored his sight. Not only did this moment open his physical eyes, but it also sparked his spiritual understanding, ultimately leading to his conversion to Christianity. Various Christian traditions, particularly the Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches, celebrate the Longinus story despite its absence in the canonical Bible. Longinus' spear, which pierced Jesus' side, has become an artifact of immense fascination. Legends surround the Spear of Destiny, asserting its extraordinary powers. These tales suggest that whoever possesses the spear can wield immense influence, determining the outcome of battles and even shaping the course of history. Throughout the centuries, various rulers and military leaders have sought the spear, believing it to be a source of divine power. Charlemagne, the Frankish king and Holy Roman Emperor, was one of the first known figures associated with it. Legends say that he carried the spear into battle and attributed his victories to its protection. Similarly, Frederick Barbarossa, another Holy Roman emperor, revered the spear and considered it a symbol of his divine right to rule. Rumors in more modern history suggest that Adolf Hitler was obsessed with acquiring the spear, believing it could help him achieve global dominance. These stories, while speculative and often exaggerated, underscore the aura of mystery and power that has surrounded the spear for centuries. Over time, claims about the spear's authenticity and its location have varied widely. Several churches and museums assert that they possess the Holy Spear, each backed by its own historical narrative. The Hofburg Palace in Vienna, Austria houses one of the most famous relics. For centuries, people have revered the Vienna spear, believing it to be the actual spear of Longinus. Scientific tests have cast doubt on its origin, yet its symbolic significance remains profound. The Holy Spear, another relic in St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, is also a subject of claims. While the Catholic Church has not definitively confirmed its authenticity, it remains a focus of pilgrimage and devotion. The Gegard Monastery in Armenia claims to house the spear, named after the Armenian word for spear, Gegard. This relic has been an object of veneration for centuries, drawing visitors from around the world. The veneration of these relics reflects a broader Christian tradition of honoring physical objects associated with saints and holy figures. For believers, these relics serve as tangible connections to the divine, inspiring faith and devotion. In addition to the spear, some traditions honor Longinus himself as a saint. The Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church commemorate him on different feast days, celebrating his conversion and subsequent martyrdom. According to legend, after his transformation at the crucifixion, Longinus left the Roman army, spreading the gospel and eventually facing execution for his faith. Some churches claim to possess relics of Longinus, including his remains or items associated with his life. These relics, like the spear, have become objects of veneration, reinforcing his role as a symbol of redemption and faith. While the Roman centurion's declaration of faith at the foot of the cross garners much attention, we often overlook aspects of his role and the broader context of Roman execution practices. These details paint a richer picture of the events at Golgotha and offer insights into the psychological and cultural challenges the centurion may have faced during and after the crucifixion. The centurion's primary duty during a crucifixion was to maintain order and ensure that the condemned died as intended. This involved supervising the entire process, from the sentencing to the preparation of the cross, the physical act of nailing and monitoring the victim's death. The expectation was for Roman soldiers to enforce the law with a detached demeanor, devoid of sentimentality. This level of discipline and dehumanization was essential in maintaining Rome's reputation for authority and control. The crucifixion of Jesus was anything but ordinary. The centurion would have been present as Jesus endured flogging, a punishment so brutal it often left victims near death before crucifixion. Interestingly, the figure of the centurion has inspired art, literature, and cinema throughout history. From Byzantine mosaics to Renaissance paintings, his moment of faith is often depicted as a turning point, not just in the narrative of the crucifixion, but in the broader human journey toward understanding the divine. These depictions highlight the centurion as a symbol of redemption for those initially blind to truth. What makes the centurion's story so compelling is that it echoes the journey of so many others who have encountered Christ. Like him, many of us go through life consumed by our roles and responsibilities, blind to the deeper truths around us. Yet there are moments, unexpected and undeniable, that force us to pause and reconsider what we believe. The centurion's transformation reminds us that faith is often born in the unlikeliest of places, sparked by an experience so profound it leaves no room for doubt. If you are enjoying this amazing story, consider showing your support by leaving a super thanks comment. By doing so, you're helping bring these narratives to life for others, sharing messages of faith. His story also serves as a reminder of the cost of recognition. By acknowledging Jesus as the Son of God, the centurion risked alienation from his peers and jeopardized his standing within the Roman system. Yet, in that moment, the truth mattered more than his position or safety. It was a declaration of faith, born out of awe, regret, and ultimately hope. The centurion's legacy lives on not only in the pages of Scripture, but also in the artifacts and traditions that have emerged around him. The spear of Longinus, believed to have been the weapon he used to pierce Jesus' side, has become a symbol of the mystery and power of that day. Housed in Vienna, Armenia, or the Vatican, these relics serve as tangible reminders of the man whose life changed at the foot of the cross. The centurion's moment at the cross is a mirror reflecting the choices we all face. It is a crossroad between denial and recognition, between blindness and sight, between living in fear and stepping into faith. His story reminds us that transformation is possible, even for those who feel trapped by their circumstances or past mistakes. Redemption, like the blood and water that flowed from Jesus' side, is available to all who are willing to receive it. As we leave the story of the centurion, let us carry its weight with us. It is not just a tale of a Roman soldier, but a universal reminder of the power of encountering Christ. The centurion's declaration, born out of fear and awe, invites us to see the cross not as a symbol of death, but as a gateway to life. Thanks for watching. Join our community by subscribing to the channel. See you in the next video.